Howdy, howdy ho. Can I just say the most dumb and hilarious things sometimes happen to me? Like my horse getting run over right after Juan asks if I have one. Followed by the morbidity of seeing it get run over again. If you're not new to the series, then there's a high likelihood you share the same thoughts I do. Far Cry 2 is still the height of the series. That doesn't mean it's been bad since then, but let's just say I skipped a lot afterwards because they all seem to be a far cry from that entry. I'm sorry, that was terrible. But hey, here I am jumping back in with Far Cry 6. Do you like mixtapes? Do you like mixtapes that also mix genres? That's easily the best way I can describe this game's gameplay. Far Cry 6 is basically a little bit of every Ubisoft major franchise, and therein lies both the clear good and bad. The good? It's actually a lot of fun. Let's not forget that this series has always been about sandbox gameplay, and while I do find popping heads from stealth quite efficient, so is also blowing everything up, or just riding around, or maybe even time trial races in a flying car, or just enjoying a nice horse ride through the trails. If you love the sandbox formula, then this game is definitely up your alley. The bad? If you've played Ubisoft's other major franchises, then you've quite literally seen or done all of these things before. It's one thing to lift mechanics that work well in other games and use them, but when your game is one big amalgamation of other games you make, then you're clearly running low on ideas. I do think there needs to be some reevaluation of how and where to use certain mechanics in certain games and genres. It's okay to let Far Cry be a more serious and country take on combat. When I'm chasing around a rooster in the street, there's clearly an attempt to bring the flavor of other games in too, and it creates uneven tones despite any of the fun I'm having on the other side of the coin with top-end weaponry at my disposal. This highs-and-lows design also permeates throughout the game, unfortunately. Let's face it, Ubisoft is pretty good at keeping you busy, and Far Cry 6 is no exception. Once again, borrowing from its known formulas is an open world filled with things to do. If you want to stop and smell the roses, then you'll likely hit somewhere around the 30-hour mark like I did when you see the credits roll. That doesn't mean there still wasn't lots to do, and the game even has endgame content that's built into the world lore. Nice. And if you enjoy the gameplay, then you'll be here getting your money's worth without issue, especially if you're into co-op. If you don't like the gameplay, then this will all seem like filler. So I hope you're into cockfighting. Remember that whole highs and lows design? Somehow this permeates into the graphics too. It's a good looking game, but more a last gen dialed up to 11. Imagine taking a top tier graphics game of last gen and remastering it for current gen, and this is what you get. Thus, at times it looks great, and other times it looks last gen, and you even get occasional screen tearing from frame rate dips. But the funny part is that's not nearly as important as both the world lore and the story, which once again follows a highs and lows design. There are genuine moments of tension and feeling, and the characters are well put together and deliver perfectly organic scenes, including a decently convincing villain. Other times the game simply lets you down, and it's like an entirely different set of developers was working on that story bit. That world lore, however, is where I'm required to give you a fair warning. If you're a politically charged person, this game will likely offend you with relative ease. And it's not because they're trying to, it's because they've chosen to reflect modern-day political issues in the game. To me, personally, it really doesn't matter since I'm inherently non-political anyway and believe in common sense and logic. But if you're the type that just can't handle political beliefs that don't align with your own, then there's a good chance you won't even finish this game. This is one of those tough ones to review. It's so spattered with highs and lows in just about every aspect except content. The gameplay is both fun but also completely borrowed. The graphics are sometimes great and other times so last gen. The story has genuinely tense and well-delivered scenes, but also times where it just falls flat. And it's politically reflective of the modern day, which will clearly divide some people's opinions. But one thing I assuredly cannot deny is that I did still have fun. There's no denying Ubisoft is at least competent when it comes to sandbox design. I give Far Cry 6 an 8 out of 10. See you next time on the Gaming 5.